This is the Right Guys podcast where we thank, love, and appreciate all of our veterans. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Welcome back. Another edition of the Right Guys podcast. I'm Max McGuire here, as always, with Mr. Producer Josh Hammerling. Observed Veterans Day. Veterans Day is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yep.
11/11. Do you know why it's 11/11?
The 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month of I'm losing it. I'm losing it.
The armistice for World War I.
That's right.
Yeah. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month is when the front lines fell silent in the trenches in World War I. And that became Veterans Day. Really easy to remember. 11/11. Make a wish. Well, we respect and honor and thank all of our veterans, everyone listening, everyone who doesn't listen to the podcast and just has served. Eternally thankful. We want to talk a little bit about the military today because it's interesting. The way that I can tell that the Biden administration is preparing to go to war is that there's been a pretty dramatic shift in the Pentagon's advertising strategies. So this past year, surprising no one, all of the military branches have had some of the worst recruiting numbers ever. Fewer and fewer people are actually volunteering to go into the military. And for the longest time, they were doubling down on woke ideology, trans ideology, diversity, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. But you can tell that they've departed from this with everything going on in the world. Ukraine, Israel. We got attacks on U.S. military bases seemingly every day now. The Iran proxies are attacking U.S. military bases.
Everywhere. Ships.
Have you seen the latest ad from the Army?
The one where it's all diversity and super inclusion, where we gotta have a discussion about.
This is the
that's
one
what
where
they're putting out.
This is the one where it's all white dudes doing cool stuff. Well, I'll go ahead and put it up. This is
go ahead. Let's play it. Let's see it.
This is what they've transitioned to now, realizing that a war is coming. All of a sudden, it seems that they admit that they need war fighters now. Here's the latest ad out of the Army.
Stand up!
Wow. Wow. Ooh.
Jumping out of a helicopter.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The greatest victories are never achieved alone.
Huh.
BLUK, U.S. Army.
Huh.
Josh, there was not a black lesbian to be found in that video.
Nowhere close. I don't know what's going on, Max.
There was not a single transgender soldier in that video. No BIPOC. None of that.
No.
It was a Chinook helicopter full of white dudes. All of them white. Maybe there's a Hispanic hidden in there somewhere.
Maybe
all pilot. White. Jumping out of helicopters, pulling the parachutes, and smiling as they land on the ground. Instead of join the Army to be part of the most inclusive fighting force ever, it's be all you can be.
Wow, they're back to that. That was like the 80s all over again. You know, felt very reminiscent.
We're going to war.
We're going to war. Well, here's the thing, Max, is that usually when you market to a group, you kind of put the people that you want in the commercials, right?
Yes.
And suddenly, I'm guessing that they realize they don't have any white guys that have joined the Army lately. And it's time to like maybe kick up that recruitment because, you know, I'm thinking that a bunch of millennial snowflake transgender super letter people aren't the best warriors to put on the battlefield. You know what I mean?
The super letter people.
Yeah, the super letter people. Let's go with super letter people. I like that. That's funnier.
Super letter people.
So they desperately want white people to join the military again, right? I mean, recruitment's got to be.
They desperately do.
Yeah. I mean, what are recruitment numbers looking like around the country? I got to imagine they're low. In fact, I know some people that are of military age who are putting it off to see what the next administration looks like before they enter the military. And that might not be the only case around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And just to put that in perspective, that's the latest ad out of the Army. This is the infamous Emma ad that came out, I think, 1.5 years ago. Let's upload. Give me a second. Upload it.
Yeah. Let's see this one.
Just a complete night and day difference. So we've got different races of people. Little cartoon action. Here we go.
The calling.
This is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems.
I'm just going to shake my head because I know what's about to happen.
It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms.
This is Emma.
Although I had a fairly typical childhood,
It's a typical childhood.
took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality.
Oh,
I like to think I've been
good.
defending freedom from an early age.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
When I was 6 years old, one of my moms had an accident that left her paralyzed. Doctors said she might never walk again. But she tapped into my family's pride to get back on her feet. Eventually standing at the altar to marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class, and then attended UC Davis, where I joined a sorority full of
It's the
other
most
strong
liberal
women.
college in the world.
But as graduation approached, I began feeling like I'd been handed so much in life, a sorority girl stereotype. Sure, I'd spent my life around inspiring women, but what had I really achieved on my own? One of my sorority sisters was studying abroad in Italy. Another was climbing Mount Everest. I needed my own adventures, my own challenge.
Is this made by
And after
Disney?
meeting with an Army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength and maybe shatter some stereotypes along the way. I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord, and I answered my calling.
What calls you? It ends with.
Wow.
Go Army, The Calling. Is that the first time you've seen that?
That is the first time I've seen
man.
that. That is.
Oh, that made
was
the rounds like a year and a half ago.
I don't ever recall seeing it, but man, it's well produced. What's crazy is they had to probably use a lot of cartoon footage because there wasn't any real footage.
I believe it's a real soldier.
Yeah, that I get.
Which thank you for your service. But the whole part of this, I had a fairly typical childhood. Two mommies marching for women's rights at the age of 6.
Yeah, I've been fighting for freedom since I was young.
Yeah, sorority girl.
Didn't know they weren't free, but that's okay.
That's a typical Army.
It is
A typical soldier story.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Is she a frontline fighter?
Putting that. Well, she says that she mans Patriot missiles.
Oh, that's right.
Which is it's great, right?
Cool.
But to present that as like recruiting, I don't know. Like on the one hand, you know that that's not the typical kind of person that joins the Army.
No.
But it also reflects a very deliberate attempt to fill the Army with people like that, which that's fine, but it's just very counter to what the Army is.
Yeah.
And as shown by the ad we played at the beginning, night and day, what Army recruiting usually looks like. Are you at all surprised that the Army had some of its worst recruiting years after it made that the face of its recruiting program?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. It makes me wonder what the readiness of our Army looks like right now. You know what I mean? If levels are low and the most frontline fighters are 110 pounds of pure killer, then we're going to do great, right? But usually it's the men from the South who comprise the majority of our standing armies, Marines, Army, military, you name it. They all come from the southern states, and it just kind of blows me away that there was this huge shift from inclusiveness to join the army because we need you, or we're going to war. I mean,
There's
did they just
nothing
flat out say
wrong.
we're going to war?
There's nothing wrong with people of all walks of life, all ethnicities, races, sexual orientations. Nothing wrong with you joining the military.
No.
It seems very weird for the United States military, the world's greatest fighting force, to prioritize. Sorry, I sat on my wallet and it triggered my tile. To prioritize recruiting people because of their sexual orientation, because of their race, gender, ethnicity. We have some more things to talk about, but that was the Army's recruiting. Have you? I love these episodes where I'm able to just throw things at Josh and get his earnest reaction to seeing things for the first time.
Yeah, and I haven't watched a lot of these recruitment videos. I haven't because it just doesn't tickle me, right?
Yeah,
Nothing I look for.
Listen. The next thing I'm about to show you doesn't tickle me either.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't tickle me either. This is Joshua Kelly.
Oh.
Joshua Kelly became the face this past year of the Navy's recruitment. Seems like a pretty good dude, right?
Yeah.
Seems like a strapping young man. See him here in uniform.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense why you'd want this person to be the face. A very personable face, good looking, right? Looks pretty confident.
Tall, dark, handsome, all of it.
The problem is that they weren't actually looking for a Joshua Kelly. They were looking for his alter ego.
Wow. It's together well.
Harpy Daniels is the
Daniels.
alter ego of Joshua Kelly. Joshua Kelly dresses up as a woman and performs in drag. So the Navy wanted him not because he represented a strapping young man who could reflect what the Navy typically is, because he dresses up as a woman. And you can see here, this is one of the photos of Harpy Daniels, the alter ego of Joshua Kelly. Make America Free, and it says, "My body, my choice," pro-choice. As you know, Josh, abortion a woman's issue, but apparently Joshua Kelly / Harpy Daniels can weigh in on that because he puts on a wig, wears makeup, and wears dresses.
Interesting. I thought you had to have a uterus for that, but
Nope, it's changed. Men have babies. Men have babies now, you bigot.
Really?
You bigot.
Where does it come out?
You bigot.
Max, I thought we wanted people that blew stuff up and break things in the Army, right?
Yes.
Don't we want them to go out there and just start pointing rifles and set things on fire and push lines and do all the amazing things that we saw in like World War II and Vietnam and, be badasses in the field. Is this guy also like on the entertainment side? I mean, does it go out to the soldiers in the field? Is this a recruiter too? I'd be interested to see how they do that.
This isn't just recruiting. Joshua Daniels, aka Harpy Daniel, Joshua Kelly, aka Harpy Daniels, actively puts on drag shows in the Navy as well. So it's not just an outward facing. This cross-dressing drag queen also performs on, looks like ships. Looks like inside of a ship. Look at this face. Look at this person. Not very excited about this.
No. How many people were under orders to be there and watch for the picture?
Yeah.
You will all report at 0700.
You will watch the man dance in a dress. You will. And it doesn't help that this plays into so many of the stereotypes about the Navy.
Yeah, right.
This doesn't help.
I remember in the Navy.
This had to be
a song about it.
Yeah,
right?
This had to be the Navy. They couldn't have done this in the Air Force, but no, it had to be the Navy. And I apologize to any Navy veterans. Watching this. I am as weirded out by this as you probably are. It just this is as far away from a fighting force as we can get.
Yeah. I would rather see like games where they're playing, fake war against each other. Because that's something I'd be able to sell to somebody, right? You want to join? This is the big guns you get to play with, the explosives, the grenades. I mean, that's why I would want to join. I want to shoot some big guns. I want to jump out of helicopters and learn how to fight. I mean, plus the athleticism that's required for a lot of these people that join, right? I mean, they're there because they're like the physically best. We want our strongest out there. And
Josh,
when they're dressed up like that, I don't get it.
Damn it, Josh, bigot Josh.
No.
Our diversity is our strength. Our diversity is our strength.
I don't need diversity.
You know that.
I need a strong back that can hold a machine gun, right? That's all we need in the Army. The last I checked.
Josh, you need to check your privilege right now.
Whoa. I didn't know I pulled out the privilege
as we just saw in the news this week, Olympic champion, quote, "My testicles don't make me less of a woman." Josh is dying.
I almost spit out my water, and I did not want that on the computer. I was not prepared for what the heck is this, dude? I got to read that again. My testicles don't make me less of a woman.
Yes.
But if you have testicles, doesn't that technically make you a man?
Josh, you bigot.
I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm not making a statement. It's a question, Max. The last thing I checked.
Josh, you bigot.
And you don't have
Josh, you have no place in the modern world.
I don't. I told you I wasn't cool, but this just blows my mind. Like, my testicles don't make me less of a woman. No, it doesn't make you a woman at all. Can I say that anymore without getting fired from a job or, burned in the streets for it? Oh, I can't have an opinion on that.
So everyone go ahead and comment in the comment sections or the chat. Tell Josh to stop being a bigot. Oh, we lost Josh's camera.
The camera. I'll fix that. It's on my side there. I was reaching for the Bible, and next thing I know,
unplug this camera.
I'll remove myself.
He's coming back. Oh, he's gonna have to come back. But no, this is real. All of this is real in the military, and it's why they've had some of the worst recruiting years ever. That they've spent the Biden administration actively trying to fill the military's ranks with people who are really only there because they add little check boxes for the diversity.
I'm trying to find the section that deals.
You won't find it.
With
Well, you're looking for Leviticus.
Is that where it's at?
Chances are you're looking for Leviticus.
Right, so
I mean that's old school.
For.
Leviticus is old school. That women can't. Even
I can't go back to that anymore. I can't use this as a reference book for anything. Like, what about like a history book? Does that count?
I want to play a little bit just to show you what's been going on, because it's not just the face of it being drag queens and look at this typical American childhood, two mommies. This is something that the Army put out. A discussion on diversity in the military. Nice little music.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Command Sergeant Major Brian Hester, United States Army Central Command Sergeant Major, and I'm coming from Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina. This morning, I'd like to introduce you to my squad. This is my squad. It's a diverse group of people that have come together, that are grounded in the Army values, our mission, and taking care of each other and building trust. This morning, we're going to talk about diversity, we're going to talk about equality, and we're going to talk about inclusion. And really, at the end of the day, we're going to tell you why our people matter and why we matter and you matter to the United States Army.
All right, so someone needs to tell him, blink twice if you're being held hostage and forced to say this against your will.
And blink once if you want us
blink
to help
once.
you.
Yeah, blink twice if you want us to rescue you. You'll notice he accidentally said equality. Equality is not the word, it's equity. Equity.
Yeah.
Blink twice if they're holding you against your will. I think this is the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Air Force.
With your look around the Air Force, I'm Staff Sergeant Britt Crowley. The newly established Office of Diversity and Inclusion is looking at the strategic impact of equity for airmen, guardians, and their families. The office evolved from the Department of the Air Force's Task Force on Diversity and Inclusion and is charged with identifying and changing policies and procedures that could...
You see how many of them are wearing masks?
It's like the virtue signaling is like, you can hear the virtue radar.
Just so we're clear, this is completely staged. Right here, you have a man, a white man, we are all people, and then a woman of color holding up a sign that says peace, love, and equality, but she is wearing a surgical mask. This is not because she was required to wear a surgical mask to make it safe. That's because she is actively being presented as a caricature of an Air Force enlisted woman, right? To encourage the people who like to wear masks to enlist as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just her.
This is Task
If you
Force
watch,
on Diversity and Inclusion, and it's
then you have what looks like a Hispanic male saying we all bleed red, but also wearing a mask, a face, diaper, whatever you want to call it.
identifying and changing policies and procedures that could unfairly affect
Love each other.
underrepresented members of the Air and Space Forces. In a recent video for Black
What does forgiveness mean?
I don't know. Like, forgiveness would mean that I've done something wrong and I'm asking for it. But what have I done wrong? Why? What am I asking?
The white woman is holding up a sign that says forgiveness. Everyone else is saying we're all equal, we all bleed red, love each other, and they give her a sign that says forgiveness. What?
She's sorry for being white?
What is she sorry for?
That's what it has to be. She's apologizing for being a white woman. I don't know her orientation. Don't
History
care.
Month,
But
the 502nd Air Base Wing
It takes all of us. Another face. Look at all these masks. Oh my God.
Like only two people in the whole thing don't have one on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my. Wow. Talk about virtue signaling.
Right? This has to be at the height of the pandemic, right? Or just after or before?
This is not 2020. It says representation matters, it says. Unity builds strength. I am an ally. Hashtag better together. I heart you.
Mikasa es su casa.
Yeah, Mikasa es su casa. Stronger together.
No hate, peace, love, equality.
This is messed up.
Command Chief Master
Oh,
Sergeant
another mask.
Whoa.
Wendell Snyder talked about the challenges the Air Force
Barely
has
covers
in
his
its work
face.
toward diversity.
Another
and
mask.
inclusion.
More masks.
Ooh,
Wow.
matches his
The Air
uniform. though.
Force has
No
more work
masks.
to do.
No masks. Well, they're
So-
outside, Max. They're outside in their sunshine.
Yeah, but no masks. No masks.
We have more work to do to get after racial disparity in the force.
They're all masks.
It's important to say it. I think it's important to call it like it is. And then our leaders at the highest level are going to do their part, but truly it's going to take everybody.
Look at this.
Wait, what is this?
This is teaching people in the Air Force how to recognize racism, making the American dream a reality. It says overt racism, which they call lynching, hate crimes, blackface, swastikas, neo-Nazism, burning crosses, police brutality, racist jokes, racial slurs, KKK slavery. And then it gets into microaggressions, which is, I'm having a hard time seeing this. Let me see if I can zoom in further.
It's just hard to read as it is no matter what.
But it's a ton.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ton.
Yeah.
Treating children of color as adults. Prioritizing white voice experts. Cultural appropriation. Tokenism. Food deserts.
Food desert.
Oh my God. Josh, food deserts are what happens in inner cities when crime forces bodegas and corner stores to close down because they can't make money because they're either being robbed constantly or people aren't buying anything, so they can't actually be in business there, so they close up and leave. It's like when you see Target stores shutting down because of just shoplifting. And they say that's racism. No, that is economics. That's what happens when you lose more money than you gain.
It affects your local economy. Those things just won't be there and they won't be present, which means that most people will spend money on fast food, which usually replaces it, which means that it's bad diet, it's bad nutrition, it's bad all around, and they've been forced out. And since when? So saying that folks are prioritizing the white voice experts by saying that you can't have a white voice expert is on its face racist, right? Because you're saying one group can't put its opinion out there because of just the color of their skin.
Not just
Which-
that, you actually, in this list of microaggressions, I'm trying to read it. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It says expecting people of color to teach you how to be anti-racist. Believing that we're post-racial.
Yeah.
This is, we're not even halfway through this.
The time is now. I don't think we can miss this opportunity.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
this, if you asked me what is the Air Force, I would, the first thing I would guess would be black women dancing, holding up a black power fist.
Yeah.
Which, thank goodness, in the back row we seem to have a black queen, according to what her shirt says.
Yeah.
This feels like the way to get to the
People
most
to join
lethal
the Air
fighting
Force.
Look
Yeah, you bet.
at the processes that we have.
Oh,
She's got red hair. That's allowed?
that's interesting. I was under the impression that you couldn't just dye your hair pink
No.
in the military because you
No.
want to, or wear gigantic hoop earrings. I'm sorry.
It's not
These
part
are-
of the professional uniform. That's not allowed, right?
It's completely against the traditional uniform standards. Completely against. Now that might not be someone in the military. That might be a consultant brought
Sure.
in.
Just wearing a jacket, right?
in place.
Yeah,
and
but it's
find ways to
Being
continue
represented
to
as
improve.
such.
The emphasis on diversity-
that's
That's the
Josh.
international. Yeah,
That's how you fight a war in the air.
absolutely. As you hold on to each other as you jump out the plane.
of 4 different hands, each a different shade of brown, all holding each other.
Beautiful.
That's how we win wars in the 21st century.
Wow, they're really ahead of the curve. It sounds like. Before we move on to this stuff, you talked with veterans, right? I mean, we've talked. I have one in particular that I've talked to for many years. He was in the Army during Vietnam, and he said at the time, just because you joined, there was already a lot of diversity. There was black, there was all brown, you name it, that was in there. And what you quickly learned in war, especially in the Vietnam theater, is that you didn't care the race of the person next to you. You didn't care about their sexual orientation. What you counted on was your brother fighting for you in that war.
Yeah.
Right. And then this is during like the 1960s, right? When, there was still a lot of bigotry that was out there. And I was told by this individual, he was blown away by how non-racist people were, because you had to rely on that person.
Yeah.
And the Army became the place where they just naturally became less racist, because you had to spend your time, live with those individuals, eat with those individuals, bleed and die and fight with them. They became your brothers. And it's amazing the number of stories he had where he said, it was just me hanging out with a bunch of black guys. And he was like the middle of nowhere country white boy dude. And they didn't care because they were all there as part of the same team. So they're trying to say that we want a more diverse group, but when in reality, it was already there by virtue of having to rely on those standing next to you. So what really changed? Was there a problem?
Yeah. I was reading something the other day, and it was I tried to find it again. It was a scholarly article condemning the U.S. military during World War II for not embracing complete diversity. And the things that they cited were the fact that Asian Americans were deliberately not deployed to the Pacific Theater. And they treated this as a form of discrimination and racism, when in reality, that was done to ensure that when American soldiers were storming these islands, that they didn't mistake someone next to them for the Japanese enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So Asian American soldiers were, whenever possible, deployed to Europe so that they wouldn't be mistaken for the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
That is being presented as racism, where it's explicitly being done to make sure that there isn't friendly fire. It blows my mind. It completely blows my mind.
What do you say to that stuff? We're trying to make sure that we don't have losses and there's accidents in war, and we're trying to protect our soldiers based on it. I mean, if you look hard enough back, so you can find racism in anything, or at least try to create racism, especially with people who write scholarly papers and who are involved
Oh,
in
yeah.
anthropology who find,
Yeah.
create bigotry in places it doesn't exist.
Microaggressions.
I heard that for the first time when I was in college, and I'm like, what does that even mean? That's a microaggression. I'm like, it's just you being stupid and me telling you the truth is what ended up happening. But I forget the example. But
It's the accusation. It's the accusation that you are inherently racist, and that everything you do is built off of racism. And even if it isn't overt racism, like burning a cross on someone's front yard, it is nevertheless racist. Which is a maddening idea. I want to play this clip because after the news about the cross-dressing Navy recruiting, face of the recruiting campaign, after that broke, a reporter actually asked the Pentagon spokeswoman whether all the other branches were planning to roll out drag queen cross-dressers. And her response, her non-answer was pretty funny. Let's listen to it.
Can you this drag queen recruiting initiative, is that strictly a Navy project? Or are you going to have the other services also involved? Is there going to be an Army drag queen, Air Force
How do I
drag
answer
queen,
this?
sort of thing? Is it strictly a Navy project?
Well, I would say first, and at the top, just looking at this holistically, we are incredibly proud of those who decide to serve, and that's every young American who decides to serve and to take the oath, to put their line on the line in defense of our country.
Line on the
again,
line.
the program I believe that you're referring to was the Navy Digital Ambassador Program, which was a pilot outreach effort. It was not a recruiting effort. For more information on that, I would direct you to the Navy. But this pilot program has concluded, and the Navy is evaluating the program and how it exists in the future.
It wasn't recruiting. It was a pilot program. Come on.
It was not
Come
a pilot.
on.
It was marketing all the way. It was saying join because you are X. How's that not a recruiting video? It's plain as day, man. Wow, but at least she got a really good answer off there. Like when you can answer a question without answering a question, she's gonna have a job in the White House before you know it. Like on the press corps, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
When you can take a question, it's basically when can we expect the Marine drag queens to be on a billboard and give that response to such a ridiculous premise, but based on facts apparently. No, she has a bright future in the spin department in the Democrat Party.
Does. She's good. She's got it all.
The less adept at spinning are the actual brass in the military, the generals who have to go before Congress and answer for all this. They are not trained in how to explain the fact that they have drag queens promoting recruitment, or that they have scholarships in which only demisexual and demigender applicants can apply. Here's a clip of Matt Gaetz questioning one of those generals about why there is a scholarship, a fellowship, where only demigenders can apply.
Demigender? Sir, that's a term of the people that are eligible for that particular scholarship that is available to. It's a person who looks at their gender in a different way than I do, sir.
Well, sure, that's all of these people. You're a cisgender man. You don't even get to apply.
Well,
do you know what demigender really means?
I'm not really sure, sir.
Right. So, do you know what agender means? All one word, not a space gender, but agender.
Sir, I don't.
Right. So here we are pushing a fellowship, calling for people that you don't even know what the words mean. And the number one group of people, the cisgender men, are excluded. In the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, should we be pushing programs that we can't define that exclude the largest group of service members?
What is a demigender?
I don't even know what that means myself. What is a demigender?
After he had praised the program as being essential, here's another one. I believe is asking why there's a deliberate effort not to recruit white people.
Senator Schmidt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, General. General, do we have too many white officers in the Air Force?
Senator, what I really look at is the quality of all the officers that we have, and we look at the aspect of everyone who's qualified meets the qualifications, is promoted. And when I
agree with you, but that answer is not consistent with your August 9th memo. In your August 9th memo, you said that you signed on to that there should be a reduction, essentially, of about 9% of the white officers. That's 5,400. We have 5,400, too many white officers. And this is the real impact, I think, of this desire of the administration. I'm saddened to see this in this memo, of this obsession with sort of race-based politics being interjected into our military. How did you come up with the percentage of 67.5% of the officers should be white? And how did you come up with 13% should be black? And how did you come up with 10% should be Asian? And how did you come up with 1.5% should be American Indian and Native Alaskan? How did you come up with 1% being Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander? And how did you come up with 15% of our officers should be Hispanic or Latino?
Senator, that is based on that memo is on application goals, not the actual makeup of the force.
So he's saying it's just the application. We want the applications.
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't really true, because they did talk about how they want a reduction in the number, in the percentage of officers who are white. I have nothing against Native Americans. I'm a little bit Native American. Not going to brag, but the last thing you think of when you think of Native Americans are Air Force officers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not racist. It's just that doesn't tend to be the career that Native Americans go for.
No.
Alaskan, like we need 1.1% to be Alaskan Eskimos. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
The next thing is, Max, is people that have the kind of education and skills to fill that position. Like, bring them to me. How many are there? Like, if we had to actually find them, right, and then put them in that position, what do you think the total number actually is? And it's got to be really low, right? I mean, it's hard enough just to fill those positions with people with, if they didn't have any color, right? You would just be looking for the skill set and the education for it. It's hard to fill as it is. Now we got to go find that and create even more, pieces of it that say, it's just going to be so hard to find, Max. They just don't exist, is what I'm getting at here, right? They don't have the qualities. And it just blows my mind. Plus, on the face of this, again, Max, they're saying we need less white people. So they picked out a group and have said that you can't join based entirely on the color of your skin, which is racist. How is that inclusive? How is that diversity? You're attacking a group with this window dressing of being inclusive, and it's not. It's like, if you see the person behind it, they're like pushing white people out and bringing anybody else in. It doesn't make any sense.
You can only get the fellowship if you identify as a obscure gender.
Yeah.
Like, not even just gay or lesbian. We're talking about like demigender, agender, pansexual. It's crazy stuff.
It's wild.
We need to ask ourselves, and we know the answer. Is the United States Armed Forces the most powerful military on the globe? The strongest fighting force the world has ever seen? If the answer is yes, then the answer has been yes for quite some time, the recruiting goals should be to keep the Army the way it is. Not to say like exclude people for being of a certain race, but when your goal explicitly is to change the sexual orientation demographics, to change the racial and ethnic demographics of the world's greatest fighting force, the greatest fighting force in world history, you better know for a fact that that's going to make the Army more lethal.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, if you were to ask me what is going to increase the lethality of the Navy, the last thing I would point to is drag queens.
Yeah.
It's completely off. If you wanted to ask me that, I'd be like, oh, people who really like the open sea. I mean, like, that's like a really easy answer. If you want to make the Navy better, like, prioritize people who know how to swim.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like a basic, like people who don't get seasick. Right. That's just the most basic level. No. We need men who wear pantyhose for fun. Damn it, you bigots.
I just don't get it, Max. Wouldn't we want the meanest, strongest, fastest, smartest people out there in the military? I mean, there's a reason we say that we try to go for the best of the best. And if the best of the best is, a bunch of drag queen wearing stuff, I don't care as long as they're the best of the best. But usually that demographic doesn't fill that role. You know what I mean? I mean, how often do we hear people on that side say things like, well, we need to feminize men? And do we want a bunch of feminized men inside of a world where you require extreme masculinity in order to complete missions, in order to complete the work? And what's sad is that may be all that's left in a generation or two.
So while we are focusing on bringing in more drag queens, this is a Russian school. Look what they're teaching.
That looks like an AK.
AK-47. They are teaching kids how to field strip these guns as fast as possible. And that's not even a field strip. That's a complete disassembly.
Assembly, yeah.
That's faster than I can do it. The AK bolt. Oh, now the next person has to put it back together. A little relay.
Max, we can't even get 4-H clubs. Yeah. I'm impressed by this. This is great.
Faster than me.
And I love the AK platform, but man, look at.
There's nothing fun about trying to get the AK dust cover on. It's not fun. This is what
look at American schools. At American schools, we can't even get money for 4-H clubs to have archery because it's too dangerous. When's the last time we taught?
Well, no, they just reversed that. They just reversed it.
Did they?
So that was a thing that passed this past year, which basically prohibited any federal funding from going to a school that had archery, hunting, or marksmanship programs. So schools had to drop their teams completely. A bipartisan group in Congress just got rid of that. But the damage is done. It's been a whole school year of kids not being allowed to compete in trap shooting or archery or hunting on the basis that it just shouldn't be allowed at all.
And that's never going to come back because nobody's training in it anymore. You would have to start all over again. It's going to take decades just to get us back to a place where we could get these shooting teams back. And they're not bad. Since when has it been a bad thing to exercise your Second Amendment right at school? In some way, right?
Not just Russia. They're doing it in China. Just as fast. Look at that. It is not a coincidence that they are both teaching their kids to do the same exact stuff.
Yeah. Why aren't we?
Assembling, disassembling. While we are focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion, they are focusing on how quickly can you assemble a firearm, how quickly can you disassemble a firearm, field strip it, clean it. That's for a reason. Because God forbid there is a war, it won't be a dance-off, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be RuPaul's Drag Race.
Nope. Won't be
not gonna walk. Not gonna walk the catwalk and ask the audience which man's prettier. It's gonna be a fight.
With weapons.
They're preparing for it. We're not.
Right. Their children are being taught how to put weapons together. They'll have an entire cohort of individuals that come out of every school year that will be trained and educated on how to use, fix, assemble, disassemble a firearm in lightning speed.
They're not allowed to own them, but they are allowed to know how to disassemble them, assemble them, fire them as fast as possible.
And when you go to war, they just put a gun in your hand.
Yeah. Or in the case of Russia, historically, they give one person the gun and one person the ammunition and say,
and then
when the gun guy dies, pick up his rifle.
Right. Or the bullet guy.
Yeah, no. It just, this is the madness of, this is the madness of the Biden administration's narrative that the United States is the most lethal fighting force because it is the most diverse fighting force. That somehow it is diversity itself that
makes it
more lethal. This is the image. This is an image that has been around for a while now. The Biden administration is very deliberately promoting within the ranks and putting it out in front of the American people how many trans officers are in the military now, which again, that doesn't really speak to lethality, but okay. And something I found very interesting in Europe now, about a quarter of all of NATO country defense ministers are women, which nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I question whether this has happened organically though. Because traditionally, a country's national defense has traditionally been entrusted to male soldiers or men who have gone through the entire ranks of the military, reached general, or have experience with the military, right? This feels forced. Does this feel forced at all to you?
It feels like it's being made for TV. It's being made for photos. There's more of importance on looking like we're diverse than they are in fighting, preparing for war. So yeah, it feels like that they've just been fed these positions.
And listen, maybe look through this image. Maybe these are the greatest killers that Europe has to offer, the most lethal warfighters. It's entirely possible, right? It doesn't feel that way. And when you see these nominations and confirmations get announced, the first thing that comes out is to celebrate that the position's now held by a woman or another minority group. The celebration isn't, we just named the best possible person to the position.
For the job.
This stuff has always felt really forced to me. And considering how these NATO countries aren't really contributing as much of their GDP towards defense as they're supposed to, and they're relying on the United States to protect them, it doesn't feel like they're really in it.
To win it.
They're taking this as seriously as they should. Who knows? Maybe this will change now that Russia is steamrolling through Ukraine and has its sights set on other European countries.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, Poland's probably next on the list once they roll through Ukraine. And it's highly likely. I mean, I don't see them being able... It's either going to be a long, protracted war, or Russia's going to finally push hard.
Yeah. Have you ever seen
that's what we're going to see in the world.
Have you ever seen the video talking about like the ultimate goals that Russia seems to have? If you look at the map, there are strategic points across Asia, Eurasia, and Europe where there are ways like through the mountain ranges. There are these passes. And it appears, based on everything that Vladimir Putin has done, that Russia is trying to retake control of that. The Soviet Union had them all, which basically controls the funnel of how you bring land troops into the Soviet Union, into Russia.
Yeah.
So if you control those bottlenecks, you can actually defend yourself. Whereas if you don't, you can't. Ukraine is one of those bottlenecks that if you control Ukraine, you can control the ability of foreign armies to move through Ukraine into Russia. There are a lot of those in a lot of countries that would prefer there are other countries on the list. Historically, Russia has wanted Finland. Something fierce.
Yeah.
That has been...
That whole Arctic Circle up there. They want Alaska. They want Finland. They want the Netherlands. They want it all.
So we'll see.
They're making towards it, Max. I mean, that's what we're facing. You know, every time we sit here, we think to ourselves, it can't be a group or an individual that's making these choices and forcing things to happen. But boy, it just seems like the plan is lining up to weaken us with every single move, like the marketing to get some of the weakest soldiers in there. And that's just an opinion on my own, because
you bigot.
Max, when is the last time you saw that group? Now, when's the last time you saw some of those diverse groups take up weapons of war? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you see them out there training and
I have
shooting?
I have nothing against people of all walks of life, all ethnicities joining the military. It just seems really strange for the Army, instead of trying to get the best workers, just to get the most diverse soldiers possible, as if that is somehow more important than marksmanship, right? Yeah. Or being built like a tank,
or hand fighting, or being able smart enough to code things, right? I mean, I want those I would just want the people that are
being
best in
able
those
to
positions.
fly a plane,
being
able to fly a jet. Like, forget about that. No, we want
chemists,
Pacific Islanders.
I just want the best for the job. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your color is. Just give me the best. And sometimes the best fall into a demographic. They do. I mean, you get these big, large men who want to fight war, right? And that's what we're looking at.
I do find it very humorous, the thought of going to war with Russia, but instead of it being a military conflict, it being a
dance-off,
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, we'll win.
You give us your best drag queen, and we'll give you our best drag queen, and they're going to walk it off.
Oh,
they're going to strut their stuff.
We'll
and whoever has the best stuff, that country wins.
I love it. I mean, who do you think we're going to handpick for that one?
I don't know.
We got to pick our best warrior on this. I mean,
apparently he's in the Navy already. I don't know.
That's right. He's on a ship.
I don't know.
Could you imagine, like, entertainment? The list coming out in your email, and it's like, tonight's show will be David Johnson dressing up as a woman and dancing. I mean, 5% will probably show up.
It does kind of further call into question the leftist narrative that only the military should be trusted with weapons, right? When you see that instead of that on its own is completely false. The American people have the right to own weapons to defend themselves, right? And we are all part of the militia that will actually be called upon to defend the United States, God forbid, if there is a war here. But in a world where the military was recruiting the best marksmen, the best warfighters, then you could maybe say, hey, you know what? They probably would be the best. Don't agree with it, but they probably would be the most trained. But in reality, that's not even what they're doing. They're saying, oh, we want to recruit more women who had 2 mommies growing up. That's going to make the military more lethal. We want to recruit more drag queens.
Should make the world a safer place.
Strangely, only in the Navy.
Oh.
No drag queens. No drag queen recruitment in any of the other ones. Strange. And we need to make sure that there are fewer white officers in the Air Force.
That just blows me away. It's just so racist. And they think it's diverse, right? They're using something that is inherently racist to promote diversity. Yeah. It's the biggest debacle I've ever heard of. I mean,
that's going to be the next shoe to drop.
Total hypocrisy.
When you look at the Supreme Court case that dealt with Harvard and its application, it's the discrimination for college applications, and that was shot down. The Supreme Court, there's a little footnote where they say this rule does not apply to the military because the military's gender and race recruitment quotas were not brought up before the court. Footnote doesn't say that it's completely different. It was just that was not an issue presented to the court in any of the amicus briefs or by any of the parties. So there are now cases working their way through challenging racial quotas in the U.S. military academies.
Wow, yeah.
Which, if they go down, that would apply to recruitment as well. Which only seems reasonable. In a world where we're not supposed to discriminate on the basis of race, it seems really, really weird that the military is allowed to be racist. It's allowed to be racist in pursuit of a post-racial military.
Well, yeah. All in the name of diversity. Yeah. Total hypocrisy. I mean, it sounds crazy, and it will go down, and then there will probably be even more people in the streets calling for the heads of people. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, my testicles don't make me any less of a woman.
You sure?
Do they? I don't know. Well, the thing is,
Max, it's back.
Like, it's not even funny. So when you look at,
I was so ready to put that back on the screen. I was waiting.
Max, have you looked at some of the data, like the difference between elite athletes, men and women?
You don't even need to look at the data. They had a UFC fight, and the woman fought the biological man, and he cracked her skull.
I know. Biologically speaking, it's called sexual dimorphism.
Yes.
Meaning that
men and women are different.
And they're bigger. They just are. And it just blows me away that there's all this inclusion. And but the difference between elite athletes is only like 10%, 5% in some cases. But that 10%, that 5% is so huge. It's the difference between me being 230 pounds and somebody else who's a fighter. It's a woman being 120 pounds and going at it, right? They can't reach those weights. They can't reach that strength, not without some sort of chemical enhancement. And when you fill an army with a bunch of people that just don't fit those roles, you're not going to have strong fighters. You're not going to have some of these people, like the endurance side of it too. Like, men outpace women so much more.
Yeah.
That's so important when you have a fighting force, is how long can they fight? How long can you keep moving? That's why there's only been like 1 or 2 women that have ever passed the U.S. Navy SEALs or Army Rangers test. I don't know if there's been a woman SEAL, but their bodies just aren't built for that, right? But they do live longer because they're the ones responsible for reproduction.
Did you see this thing when it broke?
Yeah, I sure did.
In Swampscott, in Massachusetts as a whole, they have this equality rule for sports. That if a sport is if like for field hockey, if a school only has a women's field hockey team, men are allowed to play on field hockey too, because you can't tell a man that he can't learn how to play field hockey. In Swampscott, a man played field hockey against women and hit the ball and knocked the poor girl's teeth out.
Smashed her face, man.
Smashed her face, knocked her teeth out, picking up the teeth off of the ground. This is not normal. It is not normal to have men, athletic men, just playing against athletic girls. It is not normal for girls just to get their teeth knocked out playing field hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Possible, but not normal. It is not coincidence that this happened after a male hit the ball.
But, it's more important to be diverse than it is safe.
Oh,
I guess that's
it.
You did it again, didn't I? I'm trying not to be. I'm working on it. I really am, Max. But
that's one of my favorite bits. Josh, you bigot. Stop being so rational, damn it.
Like, I train a lot with martial arts, and there will be times when I'm teaching a class or something, and I cannot put them in with the women, because some of the guys are like 280 pounds, Max.
Yeah.
And if they hit me hard, I'm crumbling. I'm not going to put them up against a 110-pound woman. I'm just not. I don't want to see that. Like, if you're wrestling and grappling, you'll crush them.
You want her to learn how to do that.
You bet.
But not by just throwing her into the fire and saying, good luck, figure it out.
You bet. Because we do encourage women to fight men, because you have to learn how to fight that strength, right?
Yeah.
You want to learn to use it against them for the most part. But if we're just sparring, I'm not going to put them together, right? I don't want the accident to happen, because what's a light punch for a dude can break the face of a woman. And I mean, like, cause major damage. And it doesn't take much in fighting to get, when the technique works, the technique works, right?
Yeah.
And it's a reason we separate.
That's the whole point of the technique, though, is to teach grappling and teach people how to use their body weight against their opponent so that they can defeat people of different sizes and shapes and statures. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't just say, like, I was watching a video of a girl who was doing at a martial arts tournament, and unbeknownst to her, she was fighting a biological male who identified as a woman, and she won but she had the right to turn it down if she wanted to, and they didn't share it with her.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, she by the rules, they're supposed to tell the girls, you're about to fight a biological man. If you want to bow out, you can. They didn't tell her, and so if he had been much better than her, she could have gotten really hurt.
Yeah, because fortunately she had the skill, right?
Yeah.
I mean, skill always trumps strength, but try to take on somebody that's really heavy, right? They can just lay on you sometimes and crush
She got him
you.
to tap. She got him to tap out, which was really cool. But it could have gone completely differently.
Yeah.
Well, we were out of time.
Man,
give you your last word.
There's a reason why we've spent so much time separating men and women is because some of us are just bigger than others. Our bodies are different. There are differences between all of us, and that's the way we were made. And society is now creating a bunch of social constructs to say that you're all the same, and it's not true.
And to be completely fair too, the predominant reason that we have stopped boys and girls from sharing the same bathrooms and locker rooms in high school is to prevent pregnancies. You put a bunch of naked boys with naked girls in the same bathrooms and locker rooms and showers.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
Nature always calls.
No, damn it. That was me being a bigot.
Sorry.
Men and women are exactly the same.
Am I rubbing off on you? We're going to get you some pills. We'll get you on
I need to get one of those signs just like the white woman. I apologize.
Right. Oh,
the only one to hold up a sign with an apology just was the white person.
Yeah. So someone did a gender swap on me on a picture one day, and it turns out I'd make an ugly woman. So, like everybody else is beautiful, and it got to me. It was awful. I would make
smash or pass.
With a pass.
Well, that's it for this edition. If you like the podcast, subscribe to the audio edition and on YouTube and Rumble. Those links are in the description. Check it out. There's other ways if you want to help support the show. We'll be back next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so tune in for that. As always, my name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all step and fight together. See you next time.
See ya.